Mailande Moran.
Hey, y'all. All right. I am Mailande Moran. I am a very, very happy Durhamite this morning to have all of you here with me and to have Creative Mornings Rally here for the first time in 4 years. Can we just clap again for that? Like, I'm so excited. My commute this morning was amazing. And I want to specifically thank Jonathan, Vishali, Erica, the entire rest of the Creative Mornings Raleigh team. Y'all are incredible. I have loved being a part of this community, and it is one of my favorite things in the Triangle. It's wonderful. So everyone keep coming because there's a lot to learn and a lot of cool people to meet, including the people right around you right now. We'll get to that. But today I'm here because I want to talk to you about curiosity, and specifically about curiosity for creatives. Because, okay, let's start at the beginning. When we think about curiosity, like what's the first thing that comes to mind? If I say curiosity, how does our culture finish that sentence? Killed the cat. Yes, that is ridiculous. First of all, cats are basically immortal. Secondly, I mean, seriously. And secondly, curiosity doesn't have to be scary. Curiosity is one of the most incredible tools that we have in our creative lives. It is a way of seeing. It's a way of connecting. It helps us stay open to new ideas. And for me, I have been in a very serious long-term relationship with curiosity over the past few years. And it's led me to some really strange places and some really amazing opportunities. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about what's been going on with me and why this is so important to me. So we're going to start with my story, as it were. And I'm going to kick us off at a very, very awkward moment in my life. So can anyone tell what I'm doing here? This is me in 2014. Dancing. Yes, I am dancing. Thank you. I'm so glad someone figured that out. But I don't always look like this when I dance, just FYI. But I'm not only dancing. I am dancing on stage in front of 300 people in Kyrgyzstan. And that's not all either. I am also having a dance battle against this guy. Yeah. His name is Maksat. He is a professional hip-hop dancer. But somehow I found myself on stage having to battle him in front of hundreds of people. How did I get here, you ask? A wonderful question. And basically, this is one of the touch points in the last 4 years that has come from my exploration of curiosity, asking why, asking how, and thinking about how I can bring a lot of my interests together. So I have a resume. I really haven't used it in a long time, but I made you sort of like a cheat sheet version of it. And so just to go down it really quickly, some of the things I've done in the past 5 years include co-founding a rug company, working with artisans in Kyrgyzstan, writing long-form pieces on philanthropy, helping people clean out their closets and offices, teaching English and singing, which was basically Sister Act 2 to kids in Kyrgyzstan. Very helpful. Next up, making up a bunch of fake business jargon as a CEO in a LinkedIn video, doing voiceover work for a local furniture company, teaching design thinking to 14 teenagers during a mobile workshop in Cuba, creating the first tablet classroom in a Kyrgyz village school, speaking and designing the stage as the artist in residence for TEDx Durham, and singing hooks for local rapper/hero, The Real Law. So as you can tell by this list, and I'm quoting Heather Lagarde, who is a former amazing Creative Mornings speaker, LinkedIn hates me. I don't know how to fit myself into its boxes. It really doesn't make any sense. But over time, I have sort of figured out the underlying architecture that makes all of this make sense. And in order to explain that a little bit, I'm going to go back to Kyrgyzstan, where my students and I were doing an exercise in which, to practice their English, we had them write questions on pieces of paper, and we put them all in a hat, and then I had to answer them. So here's one of them. First off, what do you feel when you sing? Which for me is an extremely deep question because it's basically like channeling another dimension. But what I really want to get to is, what is your why in life? Damn, kid. If you let a kid ask any question, they're going to go in. And I'm sitting at this table and I was like, okay, cool. But, and we may have different whys for different parts of our lives. And I've been thinking about this question for a long time. And the best thing that I've been able to come up with is basically what I think about as my personal mission statement, which is that I want to create and do things that make the world more beautiful and the people in it more free. And so all of that stuff on my weird resume really falls into this category. And I want to talk to you a lot more about how that works. But this is where I'm coming from, and this is what I'm about. And before we leave this subject, I just want to share another one of the questions with you, because kids are really cute. If you were a vampire, who from us, to make sure I didn't pick another person, would you eat first, and why? I don't remember how I answered this question. I'm pretty sure I got around it somehow, but this is an example. I mean, just basically kids are awesome. Okay. So, and within all of these touch points, I want to talk about one of them that's been really important in my career for a little bit. It is called the Biz Card Project. And yes, this is an Instagram hashtag. Bear with me. The Biz Card Project was something that was basically a way to play, but it ended up changing the course of my career in some really powerful ways. And it started off pretty simply. There were 3 reasons for it. The first is that business school makes you buy way too many business cards. Like, the minimum number is absurd. And no matter how much you love networking, there is no way you will get rid of that many. Like, I dare you. So when I graduated, I had a bunch of them left over. And I didn't want to, just recycle them because there's all that blank space on the back. And I was trying to use them as, tiny grocery lists or, reminder things. So I hate wasting paper. And then one day, my friend Salim and I were sitting around being like, man, we want to draw more. How do we make ourselves draw more? And he was like, okay, I got it. We're going to draw every day and put it on the internet. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. And then when I was looking through my house, I was like, whoa, I have a bunch of little canvases here that I don't really know what to do with, but I refuse to recycle them because I am stubborn. So that was the birth of a project in which I drew on the back of one of my business cards every day and put it on Instagram. And I basically didn't think anyone except me and Salim and my mom would care about this project. But it turned out that I was wrong. I started it because I wanted to stop being so precious about what I make and wanting everything to be perfect before I share it. I also wanted to be creative on a schedule. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. And what ended up happening, though, was it basically launched my career as an illustrator. So I want to share some of the images with you and talk about where some of the inspiration came from. So this is the land octopus. Actually, one of my Kyrgyz students sent me a plastic octopus tentacle in the mail, which is a whole other story. But one day when I was out of ideas, I just okay, I'm going to draw this tentacle. And then it kind of looked like it was dipping its toe in something. And I was like, what if it was an octopus who's learning how to swim? Whoa. So basically, it turned into a comic strip of sorts. And then another source of inspiration, this is basically modeled off of an ottoman I bought at Target. So I will tell you, tiny things like this take forever. I watched 3 episodes of Scandal while I colored in the black of this. So yeah, just beware of what you set yourself up for sometimes. And then lastly, here is the rainbow unicorn. I basically grew up on Lisa Frank, as I think a lot of us did, and I love rainbows and unicorns. So that was another one of my favorite ones. So I share all of that just to say that being curious, asking why, asking how, doing stuff for the hell of it, it can really change the course of things. And I want to encourage you all to think about what you can do in your own lives and in your own interests that might be able to open up new possibilities for you. And on that note, I want to bring it in a little bit and talk about curiosity within ourselves and our relationships. Because no matter what we do for a living, thinking about curiosity can help us identify new things, connect with new people in ways that can be really powerful. So I made a Venn diagram for you. So we have curiosity about ourselves and curiosity about others, and then where they overlap in the middle. So I'm going to start with self-curiosity. That side, yay. And I want to share a few different techniques that I've picked up over the years that have helped me get to know myself better. The first is look back on yourself as a kid. So as a kid, I was basically like the nerd emoji as a person. Like, that's me. And so I used to spend all of my time like going to the library. I'm not kidding. Like checking out every book on ancient Egypt, reading all of them, and then like pretending I was like an archaeologist, basically. I read every single Calvin and Hobbes comic that has ever been created. It's basically how my vocabulary was formed. I learned the word lobotomy from Bill Watterson. That was cool. And I also taught myself to do calligraphy when I was 8. And so if you think about that, a bunch of stuff happened in between then and now. But now, how do I spend my time? I'm researching things a lot. I'm reading a lot. I'm thinking about drawing and trying to be a sharp writer and drawing letters a lot. Basically, I'm still 8. But all of those things bring me a lot of joy. So I want you to get curious about, what did you do in your free time as a little kid? Like, do you feel disconnected from those things now? And how can you bring them back into your life in a more powerful way now that we're all grown-ups? So next would be take note about how you spend your free time. At one point over the last few years, I found myself reading minimalism blogs a lot. Like I couldn't get over it. And I was like, this is weird for someone who's always sort of been a collector, but like, let's figure out what's up here. So I learned a lot about it, and I was so intrigued by how people discern, like, what's important to you? What do you need? Like, what do you not need? And that led to, gathering a bunch of friends and helping each other get rid of stuff, which led to like helping a friend clean out his closet as a bartering thing, and then helping someone clean out their closet as a money thing. And now it's part of what I do. It's part of how I identify as a professional. And it really just came from paying attention to where my mind wanted to go and what I wanted to learn about. Next up, carve out time to write. And I know everyone says this, this is not news, but this has been one of the most powerful things for me. And it can be terrifying, like when you're staring at a blank page and you're like, oh my God, I have nothing to offer, like what? There's nothing in my brain, but there is something in your brain all the time. And letting yourself just get it out of your brain and onto paper can lead to some really interesting discoveries. Julia Cameron, who wrote a book called The Artist's Way, suggests a practice called morning pages, which I'm sure a lot of us know and probably do already. But it's basically just 3 pages of longhand writing in the morning before you do anything else. And it's meant to help you get all of that junk out of your brain so that you can do more interesting stuff. And if you hate writing, there's also if you hate longhand writing, there is a website called 750words.com that helps you do it typing, if that's easier for you. But ideally, you're not supposed to go back and read them. It's just a way to empty the trash of your brain in the morning. But I've actually found out some really interesting stuff about myself that I didn't realize enough until it was there on the paper. The next thing, and I'm a mushball, so we're going to go here. Pay attention to what moves your heart now in these moments that we have to be alive. So when over the course of my weird career, there have been some questions where the answer was just of course, immediately. Do you want to stay and teach in Kyrgyzstan? Do you want to judge a hip hop dance battle? I didn't know that I would have to be in the battle, but it was still worth it. Do you want to work on this amazing project with this person? And then there are questions that aren't so easy to answer. So what are the ones that make you answer immediately, that your heart says yes to? Pay attention to what those are and make more ways to be able to answer them. So this reminds me of something that Derek Sivers, who is an amazing entrepreneur and musician and thinker, has said. And a lot of us have probably heard this too. If you're not saying hell yeah to something, say no. And I am not good at this. It's very hard because we want to be liked and we want people to be able to count on us. And it's hard. And it's something I'm still working on. But the thing is, when we say a lukewarm yes to stuff, we're missing out on the things that would make us say hell yeah. So this is a practice that I'm still working on that I want to share as something that you can do too. So next up in the Venn diagram, curiosity about others. And I really have just one main thought on this, cultivating curiosity about others. I truly believe that everyone and everything is here to teach us something. So every time I meet a new person, I'm like, what is it? Oh my God, it could be anything. This is so exciting. And sometimes you don't find it out immediately. Sometimes it comes a lot later. But this is a practice that helps me get over my, any kind of social anxiety I have, or because there's always this feeling of discovery. And so I just want to say that you're in a very good place for this right now. And you're probably sitting by people that you don't know, maybe. So this is a great opportunity to start asking this question of yourselves. There's also there's a great coffee shop literally right over there and like around the rest of the city. So if you have a moment, make a new friend and walk around with them for a minute. I've done that at Creative Mornings, and it's awesome. So I want to talk about the intersection in the Venn diagram, which is where, to use another emoji, the magic happens. And for me, I love emoji. Anyway, for me, this really happened with the Biz Card Project when other people started engaging with me, looking at what I was doing, and then doing their own version of it, which to me was more powerful than any opportunity that might have come my way, because it helps the practice spread. It helps that magic spread of investigating what you love and sharing it with other people. I had friends who said, hey, I've been drawing a mandala every morning, and it's like this beautiful meditation, and I love it so much. Or a friend who said, I haven't written poetry in 7 years, and I started writing a poem every day. He sent some of them to me, and they made me cry. Like, I'm serious. And so helping people kind of find that freedom to just do something because it's beautiful and we're humans. That's what we can do when we take a risk and show other people what we're doing. So the last one, cultivating curiosity about how you connect with others. Like, what can you do to help other people tap into their secret curiosities? Like, what can you do to help them feel more free? And this is something that's been a really beautiful part of my life. So next up, this is a field guide to curiosity for creatives. So moving kind of from the like self-examination and relationship part into how can we use this in our daily lives and in our jobs. And so I want to say, like, you don't have to be, like, quote unquote, a creative to be creative. Like, a lot of us might be full-time graphic designers or whatever in this room, and that's kind of the population here. But no matter what you do, like, there is something in your life that this can apply to. Maybe you're an incredible chef, but you don't really think about it as creativity, but it is. Or if you're like a skateboarder, I don't know, skateboarding is basically dancing on a board with wheels, which is amazing to me. I cannot do it. But you're making choreography. You're interacting with the terrain and the air around you. So no matter what you're up to, you can think about curiosity in whatever your creative life brings around. So I have some advice here. The first one, we talked a little bit about this, but play. Make space to play and note what you discover. And for me, I like to create space to just draw with no reason behind it. And I find that a lot of my client work actually comes from those exercises, those like do whatever you want doodling sessions. And I want to just share a couple of ways in which those things are connected. This to the left here, I just made a bunch of lines on an echocardiogram last year. As part of I was just playing around. And then later when I had a client project, an illustrated quote, I was looking back on my sketches and I was like, I wonder if I could like adapt this in a more formalized way. And it went into the drawing on the right. And then next up, if we go back to the Ottoman, the Ottoman/scandal drawing on the left, if you look, it's hard to see, but if you look over on the right, the stage setup for TEDx Durham, there was a panel in which I used the same design. So it came back around in a way that was really cool and much bigger than the original one. So that's the first thought. Second up, I want to share a technique that I use a lot, which is to choose wonder over worry. And this is the mantra of a friend of mine, Amber Ray, who is an author, among many other things. So the way she says it is, in every moment, we can choose to listen to the muse of wonder over the anxieties of worry. And so this is something that I like legit use all the time. And because sometimes I'm a ball of anxiety, like most of us probably. And this helps me really reframe a challenge or something unknown into a mode of discovery and curiosity rather than fear and worry. So you can use it for all kinds of stuff. If you're going on a date, like you could either think, what if it's horrible? What if she's the worst? What if I'm so bored and I just want to leave? Or you could say, man, this is a new person. Like, I wonder what they could teach me. I wonder what new musicians I could uncover. What if we could learn how to dance together and it could be super fun? Or giving a talk like this. You know, I could think, what if I forget everything about my own life and then I just like dissolve onto the stage, you know? Or I could say, oh man, I wonder what could happen today. Who might I meet? Like, who could walk away from this, like, even if they hated my whole talk, like, having one nugget of something that they could take away and make something beautiful with. Like, that would be worth it, you know? So that's a little meta. All right, that's how I'm feeling right now. Okay, so next up is embrace the nonlinear and rethink whatever you want. We are grown-ups. And as I mentioned before, my quote-unquote career path is more of a, like, it's not a straight line. It's not even like a curly line. It's like curvy line. It's more of a series of like overlapping circles or something, or a slinky. Is that a shape? Anyway, but at this point, I would argue that curiosity and the ability to adapt is becoming more and more important in creative fields, and basically in any field, which in most fields are creative in some way. So I want to encourage you to get out of the mindset of thinking that everything has to be in a straight line with looks like a metro map or something, where it's just like a smooth line with stops along the way, because a lot of this stuff can be really cyclical. For me, when I founded a rug company in Kyrgyzstan, which led to going over there to gather some media for our website, stayed to teach at the request of our photographer/teacher, and then nothing else really happened with teaching for like 3 years. And then someone was like, hey, you taught in Kyrgyzstan, right? Like, do you want to teach in Cuba? And I was like, yes, of course. What? And that was something that I had not really thought about for a while. Similarly, drawing things and putting them on Instagram led to the TEDx Durham thing, which led to other speaking engagements, which led to me being here right now with you, which is so magical, and I love it. So I really think that we're at a place, given the nature of the workforce, things are shifting really fast, and we need people to be consistently being critical and thoughtful about how this can work. And I'm excited to be doing that with you. Then the next thing is, remember that it's not too late for most things. I mean, I had to put that caveat in there because, like, y'all, I'm not going to be a gymnast now. Like, that ship has sailed. But many other ships haven't sailed. And honestly, like, even given all the like stuff that I do, like there's a million other things that I still want to do that I haven't done yet, and I'm excited to explore them. Just wanted to call out some really awesome people. J.K. Rowling published the first Harry Potter book at age 32 after being rejected like 8,000 bajillion times. Nina Freelon, local hero, jazz legend, 6 Grammys, like what? Amazing. She didn't put out her debut album until she was in her late 30s. Lisa Congdon, incredible illustrator, started drawing right? Yes, she's great. She started drawing at all when she was 31. Didn't really start her career until she was 40. Now she's published 7 books like 10 years later. Great. She's amazing. Ava DuVernay directed Selma 13th, A Wrinkle in Time. Oh my God, I'm so excited about that movie. Anyway, she didn't make her first short film until she was 32. And lastly, Vera Wang didn't start designing under her own name until she was 40. And maybe you're over 40 and you're like, Mailande, what about me? What about you? What are you going to do? It's fine. People reinvent themselves all the time. Agnes Martin is mostly known for like drawing she did in her 80s. Like, we're all going to be good. And there's still a lot more time to be thinking how to expand and reinvent, no matter how old you are. And then the next one is, and this is a hard one, this is, how can I see this as a gift? Because I know that I have been up here being very like sunshine and rainbow unicorns, which is how I like to be. But I'm not always like this, and life is not always like this. And all of us are going to go through times that are really difficult. And it's going to be hard to be curious because we don't want to know the answer because we're broke or heartbroken or depressed or we've lost someone. I mean, these are very real things. And what I've tried to do, which is really hard sometimes, is to ask, how can I see this as a gift? What can I learn from this pain? What can I learn from these problems? And like I said, the answers are not always apparent, and maybe they won't be. But this is a way that I've found to reframe when I get disheartened or hurt, to move forward in a way that's helpful to me and to keep that curiosity lens going, even when things are super tough. And then lastly, make friends with fear and potential failure. So, man, making stuff and putting it out in the world is scary, and we want people to like it, even if we don't want them to like it, like we do. And yeah, it can be super scary. So I want to share, this made me laugh so much. While I was writing this talk, actually, I got an email about this. There's an amazing cartoonist named Tom Hart. And in 1993, he was like super stressed about a cartoon he was making. And he was talking to his friend Brian Sendelbach. And Tom says this is like the best gift he's ever received. Brian goes, Tom, nobody's watching and nobody cares. And I wanted to share that with you, not because it made me laugh out loud when I read it, but also, this is not to say that like no one gives a shit about what you're doing, but it also means that everything you're doing is so much more like precious to you than it is to anybody else. Like they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They're going to see that you're trying. And so I want to help us like get away from this idea, again, as I've been trying to do, that we have to be perfect all the time. I want to illustrate this with another one of the biz cards. So first off, this is a pun. Does anyone know what this is? What is it? Yeah, comma, 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 chameleon. Yes, that's what it is. And although I was very delighted with my pun, this drawing drives me absolutely crazy because this arrow is way too close to the comma. The spacing is totally off. But I wrote it in pen. I couldn't erase it. I told everyone I was going to put it on the internet, so I did. You know how many people got like really mad at me and said rude stuff about how the arrow was too close to the comma? How many people? Guess. Absolutely 0 people. Okay. Yeah. And then another one of my projects that I started was Mailande Draws on things, in which I drew on things that you're not really supposed to draw on or aren't meant to be drawn on. Things like toilet paper or like the insoles of shoes or whatever. And it was a really fun project, but it kind of petered out. Guess who got really mad at me that I stopped my own project? Okay, I did a little bit, but nobody else did. Like no one was like, I'm sorry, you stopped on like day 36 of an 100-day project. Where is it? You're the worst. No one said that. So I do want to, and that's just to say that the things that we get upset about, like nobody's watching and nobody cares. It's so freeing to think about that. And sort of as we get to the end of this conversation, I want to share something from Monica Byrne, who is a local novelist and playwright. She shared a few years ago something called an anti-resume. This is the beginning of an extremely long Excel sheet that you can go find if you Google Monica Byrne anti-resume. And it's basically everything she's ever submitted to anything and like the rates at which she was accepted. So the rate that she was accepted it's 3%. 3%. That is nuts. However, she's still a published novelist with a beautiful set of work, and she's still doing what she loves. So screw it. Like, not everyone's going to like what you do. Keep trying to find the people that will. And that's another thing to be curious about. Who's going to like what you do? Who knows? Could be anyone. And then the last thing I want to talk about on this front is the taste gap, which is something that Ira Glass has talked a lot about. And this helps me a lot with like the fear and failure thing. I'm going to play a video that I found while I was researching this. It's by a filmmaker named Daniel Sachs, who is in Germany, and he kindly let me play it for you. So here you go.
Beide Positionen, vielleicht richtig vorgefertigt für den, wenn ich ehrlich bin. Ein ganz tolles Gespräch.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, like, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap. That for the first couple years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just like say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste, they could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And The thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you got to know it's totally normal. And the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week or every month you know you're going to finish one story. Because it's only by actually going through a volume of work that you're actually going to catch up and close that gap. And the work you're making will be as good as your ambitions. It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through that. Okay?
Yeah, I love that video. I think my favorite is the zucchini, the disappointment zucchini. That was incredible. Anyway, thanks to Daniel for that. But yeah, and that's something to remember too, that when we start out at something, that's how it works. We probably aren't going to be good at it. And it's only through remaining curious and sharing what we're doing and connecting with other people that we can get to where we want to be. So to wrap up, I want to get us to a quote I actually like about curiosity, which is by Albert Einstein, which is that I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Now, I'm not sure that's 100% true of Albert Einstein, but it's still a great sentiment, right? Curiosity can be the engine that helps us excel in all kinds of fields, whether we're discovering new things in science or drawing things on the internet. And I also want to just close by saying I am where I am today, and I will be where I will be, wherever that is, because I started asking questions. And those questions were things like, can I create the life of my dreams? Can I spend more time with my family? Can I create more freedom in my life? Can I upend assumptions about things and how they have to be? And I'm still, living my way into those answers. And I think we all are in some ways, just trying to keep answering our own questions. But I want to really encourage you to keep asking them. And also to tell you that I am really excited about whatever process y'all are going through as you harness curiosity and use it to fuel your own creativity. So please tell me about it. You can find me via my website or on all the social things at Mailande. And lastly, I want to thank you all for being here, listening to me, and being part of this amazing community. It has truly been a joy. And come talk to me. Yay. Let's all be friends. Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, forgot about that. Questions. I'm not going away. I'm still here. No?
Have you ever thought of submitting that toilet paper design to who earned it? I would love to know something beautiful.
Oh my God, what an amazing question. I would also love to shit on something beautiful. I didn't think about it with, that's a great question. I didn't submit it to Charmin, and you asking that might make me try again. Dude, come talk to me. That would be amazing. I actually have a friend who has a toilet paper company, which is ridiculous. It's called Who Gives a Crap, which is a great name. And it's like all recycled toilet paper. They're amazing. And so they weren't quite ready to do it, but I would love to talk to P&G about making confetti toilet paper. So please come talk to me. Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Oh, nice. I'm really glad that's where all the questions are coming from. It's actually still preserved as an art piece. And way to call me out on not recycling. That is true. I may, depending on what happens with it, maybe I'll get rid of the markery part and then use the rest of it. I'm not really sure. TBD on that one. Anybody else? Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I think that ends up being different for everybody. What has been really helpful for me is that in between all the project work, I have mostly had one steady like contract job that has sort of laid the foundation for whatever I'm doing. So for about a year and a half, I was an editor and sort of like managing editor and one of the marketing people for a website, basically. And so that wasn't a full-time job, but it at least like gave me, I knew like how much was coming in for that period of time, and like anything I could build on top of that was also great. And as of now, I've been working as a copywriter for a branding firm out of Vancouver that has a really big remote workforce. And so I've been working consistently for them for about 2 years now. So for me, it's really helpful. And, and for people, like this could be like your day job while you do like, projects underneath that. And so I think it depends on your cost of living and what you need to be comfortable. But for me, having that sort of like long term, not like 3 months at a time, but trying to find something that's more sustainable has been helpful for me. And then I can build projects on top of however that works. But it's a really, obviously it's a really personal question. And if you're a photographer, like, a lot of your gigs might be like a day, right? And I know that can be kind of difficult, but maybe there's something like an event series that you could photograph, or so. I don't know. But I think every industry has its idiosyncrasies, but for me, finding the jobs, and I guess they've mostly been writing, honestly, that have been more long-term, has helped me like lay a foundation where I can afford to be more risky with the project work. Yeah. I've been drawing since I was a little kid, but I think it's more of a natural style. I don't really try, I haven't tried to learn any new styles exactly. I've just sort of been like experimenting with colors and shapes for a long time. So for me, I think it really just comes from what I love to do and like what makes sense for me. Like all the lettering in this like was just however I write. And so a lot of it has just comes from the way that I see things and the way that I want them to appear on paper. But I think there's a lot to be said to like learn different styles so that you can be more versatile. I basically just have like one mode, so and it works for some people and it doesn't for others. So yeah. So like if you're at a company where they're asking you to do something that's like, sorry, I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Yeah. This reminds me, so my first day of work ever, I was working at a gallery in New York City. This is like way, way long ago. And it was the first day and my boss was like, hey, we have to put, what did he ask? He was like, we have to make a full page ad for Art in America for one of our shows. Like, can you do that? And I was like, sure. And I was like Googling what is Illustrator. Like I didn't like know how to do that at all. And I sort of had to like, I still Google like, how do I do X in Photoshop? That's like basically how I use Photoshop. And obviously like they weren't expecting the world of me, but I did figure out how to put things in the program and it ran in the magazine. It was probably not the best art ad they'd ever seen, but so I have actually been in that situation before and kind of maybe a more low stakes version of whatever you have in mind. But I do think there's a lot to be said to like fake it till you make it. So whatever room you do have, like whatever time you do have, like spend as much time as you can like researching how to be really good at that thing. And I mean, I guess make sure that you understand exactly what the leadership is requiring and expecting of you so that you can like kind of work backward into like, how much time do I have? What do I need to learn? What is the most efficient way to get me there? And during this time, you may not have the luxury of just like trying lots of new stuff or whatever, but like how do you get the most directly from point A to point B? And ask people for help too. I mean, that's what I've done a million times. If I have a project that I don't really know how to do, I luckily know a lot of talented people in this town and outside of it who, if I have a weird question or I need someone to help me like make kind of a shortcut, they can give me advice about how to do that. So don't. And I mean, basically, the internet and other people might save you in this situation. And if you want to talk about it more specifically, I'm more than happy to help. Oh yeah, sorry. Hey. Let me think about that. Yeah, you're right. I have like 80 other careers that I haven't even like started yet. Honestly, for me, as I've gotten a little older and gone through more things, it's gotten more important for me to keep a really, really strong foundation for my health, honestly, before anything else. So a lot of the questions that I've been asking recently are, how do I make sure I get enough sleep? What's the best way for me to eat so that I feel awesome and I have enough energy to do everything I want to do? What are the practices that I can use to help me feel grounded? Like how and when can I meditate? When can I write? How do I make sure that I'm connected with people that I love? Because I can't really do anything else if those things are not happening. And sometimes you have to choose those things at the expense of other stuff that you would also like to be doing. So for me, it's kind of like that hierarchy of needs, right? Like I start with like the stuff that's absolutely crucial, and then from there, I let it build up. And some of it is a little bit, once you've got those like basic things taken care of, some of it's a little situational, right? Like I didn't know I would be spending part of February preparing for this talk, but when the opportunity came, I was like, welp, some of the other questions I was going to ask are going to wait till March, and we're going to start doing this right now. So I think sometimes the world will nudge you in a direction or two. But honestly, to be honest, it's something I still struggle with. Like I'm trying to get better at a lot of things, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of intentionality. And I think going with whatever makes your heart jump the most can be really helpful. And then giving yourself grace that you're not a robot who can do 11 things at once, and giving yourself time to explore things as they make sense. All right. Thanks, y'all.